My name is Stephanie Caballero. I am an attorney in assisted reproduction. So that means surrogacy, egg donation, sperm donation, and embryo donation. I also had my own journey through assisted reproduction, and it took me 8 years to have my children and multiple IVF cycles. And then I finally got them when a surrogate carried them.
My name is Caitlin Oberly. I'm the Senior Partner Success Director with C-Trust Escrow, and I've been in the assisted reproduction technology field for 8 years.
Hi, my name is Virginia Hart, and I am the founder and executive chair of Art Risk Financial and Insurance Solutions. I have been an insurance broker for over 30 years and working in the assisted reproduction field for 20 years, specifically doing third-party reproduction, surrogacies, egg donation, and everything that goes with it.
My name is Judith Hakes. I am vice chair of the Assisted Reproductive Technology Committee under the Family Law section of the American Bar Association. I'm past chair of the Legal Professional Group for the American Society of Reproductive Medicine. I'm past chair of Colorado Fertility Advocates, which is a not-for-profit working in the field of assisted reproduction. And I am on the board of directors of Resolve, which is the National Infertility Association. I've drafted a number of pieces of legislation in Colorado supporting assisted reproduction. I've worked on drafting a surrogacy statute, which was signed into law by our governor in 2021. And most recently, I drafted IVF protections for the state of Colorado, which was passed into law in May of 2025.
Hi, I'm Dr. Diana Chapkin. I'm a fertility doctor here at SCRC in Los Angeles. I've been practicing for a number of years. I majored in psychology and history. So before I even went into medicine, to me, the psychological and the emotional aspect of taking care of people is at the basis of everything I do. I then went to New York University for medical school, where I had an amazing training. I then went into the field of obstetrics and gynecology, where I did 7 years of training. First 4 years of general OBGYN, where I took care of women in all aspects of their reproductive health journey. And then I spent 3 years of subspecialty training at the University of Pennsylvania, where I got very, very exquisite training in fertility treatment.
Art Risk has grown dramatically over the past 20 years, largely due to our approach. We believe in education, innovation, and advocacy, and financially protecting all parties involved in a third-party arrangement. Art Risk prides itself in being the leader in the community, working with clinics, agencies, and attorneys, and those on independent journeys. We believe everyone should be a parent and work hard to provide affordable options to the third-party reproduction field.
I'm most well known for having my own children via surrogacy, and also for making the process as simple as possible for my clients, because most of my clients are international and they come from far, far away, and I like to make it as smooth and easy as I can.
We work with clients from all around the world, and we have several different team members who are fluent in Mandarin, Portuguese, and Spanish. We also can communicate and provide documentation in all different types of languages. One other area that we are super proud of is that our website, it can be comprised of different languages, and we can send those types of notification in that select language for those intended parents. This seems to be really helpful for intended parents who are located internationally.
So I work with all different clients, surrogates, egg donors, intended parents. If it's intended parents, they come from all over the world. We've obviously worked with clients from China, from Spain, France, and even Italy, Portuguese and Spanish, and a little bit of Italian. I really try to put myself in my clients' shoes because I had my own surrogacy journey.
I just returned from an international surrogacy forum in Cape Town, South Africa in March, and the attorneys from the United States were asked that question: why is surrogacy illegal in so many foreign countries and legal in the United States? And it's such a good question. I think sometimes in countries where the Catholic Church is a big presence. Surrogacy is illegal there because IVF is not sanctioned by the Catholic Church, which would also mean that surrogacy is not sanctioned by the Catholic Church because you need to go through IVF for a gestational surrogacy. And so in countries that are more Catholic-centric, it's illegal in those countries. In the United States, we have a large number of Catholics, but the Catholics in the United States believe in IVF and believe in reproductive freedoms, and so in our country, we don't see issues related to religion. What we do see is a lot of science in the United States that supports IVF and that supports surrogacy. And we have recommendations by the American Society of Reproductive Medicine that are followed by fertility clinics around the country. And some of those recommendations include legal representation, mental health support, medical evaluations, so that all parties entering into a surrogacy agreement are protected. Intended parents are protected because their health matters, the health that they have contributing to embryos. Surrogates are medically evaluated to make sure that they're the healthiest persons possible to proceed with surrogacy, and their mental health is highly valued. And so they have mental health evaluations to determine whether or not they are in the right place, the right frame of mind to be a surrogate, and that they can honor the surrogacy contract. Protections are put in place based on all of the recommendations by ASRM, and they're also put into place by the American Bar Association that has drafted a model act on assisted reproduction, a model act on agencies involved in assisted reproduction, and hopefully soon the model act on embryo disposition, which is currently being drafted by a handful of attorneys around the United States. And because of these protections, we have agencies who are following better practices, we have attorneys who are following better practices, and we have fertility clinics following better practices, or best practices, might I say, so that all parties to a surrogacy agreement are protected here. Many states have surrogacy statutes, and many states who don't have surrogacy statutes have protections in law that determine who the parents are of a child being born through assisted reproduction. I personally have worked on a number of statutes in Colorado. I worked on the surrogacy statute. I drafted that with a colleague of mine in Colorado, which was signed into law by our governor in 2021. And most recently, I worked on drafting IVF protections for Colorado, signed into law by our governor this spring.
So when people think of escrow, you typically think of housing and an escrow for your mortgage. However, escrow is very important in surrogacy and egg donation journeys. What it is an independent account that the funds are managed by an independent third party per the terms of a gestational surrogacy agreement or donor agreement.
There are so many issues. First of all, when you go to the doctor's office, you're going to be asked to sign an embryo disposition contract. And I know when I did my IVF, I was very shocked about that because I was just going in to try to have a baby. So they're going to ask you what you want to do. If you don't want to use them anymore and you're done with them. I didn't have any more frozen embryos left, so I didn't have to make that decision. And then you really want to work with the right legal team because they can help guide you. You'll need a contract for your egg donor and your sperm donor and your surrogate. So you really want a really good legal team behind you who has a lot of experience and knows what they're doing.
There are so many key components to a standard surrogacy agreement, and so how a surrogacy contract, also called an agreement, starts out is first the intended parents and the surrogate agree on which state law will be followed when the surrogacy contract is drafted, because that's how the contract will be enforced, is under a particular state's law. The next part of the surrogacy contract will detail embryo transfer, how many embryos everybody agrees can be transferred to the surrogate for each embryo transfer procedure. Most of the time, that's only going to be one embryo. And why is that? It's because the American Society of Reproductive Medicine, under best practices and recommendations for surrogacy, recommends that only one embryo be transferred because a results in the lowest risk pregnancy to the woman who's pregnant and the lowest risk pregnancy to the baby who's being carried. The parties also move on and will determine how many embryo transfer procedures they agree upon. And most contracts will say that a surrogate agrees to undergo up to 3 embryo transfers within a year of the first embryo transfer or within a year of the contract being signed. It doesn't mean that can't be changed later. It can be changed later. But the contract will detail the initial attempts at embryo transfer. Next, what follows in the contract is there will be terms in the contract about what the surrogate agrees to under her prenatal care. We'll talk about terms of termination of pregnancy or selective reduction if there's too many fetuses growing. We'll talk about in the contract who makes decisions, whether or not you can get a second opinion, a third opinion. All the compensation terms will be in the contract. How disputes will be solved. All of these terms are pieces of a contract that in the end secure everybody's rights and makes everybody feel comfortable moving forward.
So that's an egg donor contract and a surrogate contract. Some people do sperm donation, but we're going to mainly talk about those. You do want an egg donor contract with your egg donor because you want it clearly spelled out that you are the parent and she is not. We are licensed in different states, California, Texas, Washington. Each of those states has a statute, but you definitely want a contract so that everybody knows what they're doing, the egg donor, the intended parents. We talk about travel, her lifestyle, because she's going to be stimulating her eggs for you. We want her to have a clean lifestyle, especially during that time. So there are a lot of issues involved, and you really want to make sure that you have a really good, solid contract for that. It's really important because you're creating a child. You want no doubts about it, that child is yours. Also during that process, like let's say for the surrogate, you want to make sure that she's supported, she's living a clean environment. There's issues that we talk about in the contract like smoking, sexual relations, when she has to abstain. If she has a cat, we don't want her cleaning out the cat litter. Nails, hair dye, bicycle riding, things that she may do in her normal life when she was pregnant for herself. We really need to make sure that she's not doing things that could impact the pregnancy negatively. Most surrogates do not. I don't think a surrogate's going to go bungee jumping, but it's in the contract. Also, we talk about the trust account, right? It's really important that the money is put away for the surrogate and it's separate. It's not in, anybody's personal bank account. The parentage order process, because it's a 2-step process. It's a contract and the legal parentage order process that we go to the court. So we have that in the contract. There are so many things. My surrogacy contract is over 40 pages long. I know it's not light reading, but it's really, really important that it's there, it's read, and everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing and when. It's lately I hear on Facebook, what does an agency do? And people have no idea the work involved in the coordination that goes in with a surrogacy.
Having a escrow account is important in the surrogacy and egg donation process because it provides a centralized locations for funds to be dispersed throughout the journey. So for example, a surrogate who is in need of different payments, such as maybe travel, any type of her base compensation, anything related to her surrogacy journey, this gives a neutral account to where the surrogate has funds that are dispersed to her for her expenses, and it also allows the parents to view each transaction that's going out of that account, all while being managed by the terms of the gestational surrogacy agreement.
We list the trust account, when the parentage order is going to be filed, because it's really important that we get that done before the baby's born. We have to petition the court. We have to submit the court documents there that list the intended parent as the parent, because when a woman gives birth, the hospital thinks that she's the mother. So we want the parents to get the bracelet with their baby. We want the parents to stay overnight with their baby and control their baby's health care. And we want the lovely surrogate to take a very well-earned nap. and not have to deal with the baby. So we start that very early, and that's in the contract. We also talk about insurance. It's important that the surrogate has insurance, that's been vetted. We talk about not only the health insurance, but life insurance. It's important that that's obtained. So there's lots of different things that go into the contract. Again, we try to make it as easy as possible.
Surrogacy insurance is a critical layer of protection designed to ensure that both the gestational carrier and the intended parent are covered medically and financially throughout the surrogacy journey. It includes coverage for prenatal care, labor and delivery, postpartum recovery, and any complications that may arise. Without the right insurance, families can face unexpected and sometimes devastating bills. At Art Risk, we view surrogacy insurance as not just a policy, but a promise to safeguard the health, well-being, and peace of mind to everyone involved.
By having a really good contract, I have to say, that is so important. Some people actually will find a contract online. They won't be represented by an attorney. That doesn't happen as often anymore because most of the states in the United States, there's a statute that says that you have to have a contract and you have to have your own attorney, and the surrogate has to have her own attorney. But there's some places where you can still get away with that, and that's usually when things go wrong, and it's kind of the stories that people hear about when they find out what I do, and they think that, you know, everybody thinks like the surrogate's going to take the baby, and she's not. She doesn't want your baby, but you need a really good contract, and that's so important.
Hi, my name is Cindy, a surrogate recruiting manager at Yunda. I have been in the surrogacy industry for 10 years. At Yunda, we receive at least 20 qualified surrogates, and we match them right away. Surrogacy is a two-way relationship between the surrogates and intended parents, making sure that we get the best intended parents for a surrogate, and surrogates are comfortable as well. Our requirements are very strict. You have to have at least one child to become a surrogate. You must have a healthy lifestyle, must be financially stable, and between the ages of 21 and 38. And you must have at least one child to be able to be a candidate. We also check medical records, background records, and make sure everything looks good to be able to proceed.
So the surrogate needs to be really, really well screened. So she needs to have psychological screening. It's important for the intended parents. They could actually meet with a psychologist. It's not a screening for the parents. It's to help them understand the journey. But for the surrogate, it's also really important. She needs a support system. She needs to be medically screened. She needs to understand what it's going to mean in her whole life. It's going to impact her and her family. Most surrogates do understand this. Surrogates really do this for 3 reasons. Number one, they usually know somebody that's had infertility. They love being pregnant. They love everything about it. They love how they feel. They love the attention they get when they're pregnant. And then the money is the 3rd reason. So it's really important that it's a good screening process, and it really is in the United States. It's why people come here. Most of the states now have a good statute. The real big difference is there's a few post-birth states. For instance, I'm licensed in Texas, also California as well. California is a pre-birth state. So after your baby's born, there's nothing else for the law office to do. We're done, you let us know you have your baby, you put your name on the birth certificate, you get the bracelets, you're done. In Texas, we still do everything pre-birth. Even when we work with a post-birth state, we're still going to do it pre-birth, meaning we are going to get a court order that says the parents are the parents, right? But in a post-birth state, we have to send another document to the court that lists the place where the baby's born, their birth date, and their name. In Texas, there's nothing else for the parents to do. They still act like they're in California, right? They can put their names on the birth certificate right away after their baby's born. But post-birth state, there's usually just more work for us. So we petition the court, and we do this and we start this process typically at the end of the 1st trimester. I know it seems like that's a lot of time, but we have to get a declaration from every attorney involved, from the parents, the surrogate, her spouse, the doctor. In California, sometimes that paperwork is 100 pages. So it's a lot of work for our staff. So we have to do that and start it at that time, like the end of the first trimester, right at the second trimester, because we want that judgment of parentage certified by the court, and we want to send it to the hospital before the baby is born. And we do something that I assumed every law office does, but they don't. We actually find out who the contact is at the hospital. We send the intended parent's name, the surrogate's name, the agency contact, and all the attorneys, because we really want no surprises when the parents come. We want them to be able to see their baby being born if they can, and then to enjoy that time, because it's incredibly special. So I tell everybody who asks me that that's a movie. The surrogate doesn't want to keep the baby. She has her own family. It's really important when you pick a surrogate, and typically she has not only she's given birth freely, uncomplicated, but she has her own children at home. She has her own family. So that does not happen, right? We get a court order that says she's not the parent. I've had surrogates who I've represented call me up and go, okay, where's the document? I'm waiting. Where do I sign? Because I don't want this baby, right? She doesn't want the baby, right? But, okay, let's say, for argument's sake, that she does. She doesn't, but let's say she does. It would be a felony, because when she signs that contract, she's presumed not to be the parent, and she's stating her intent not to be a parent. She's had an attorney. The intended parents have had an attorney. The intended parents are the parents. They have a stated intent in that contract. So if that happened, it's not, but it would be a felony. She would be arrested. They would get the baby. Since we mostly work with clients overseas, we are really careful when we work with LGBT same-sex couples. We want to make sure that the court documents are correct for them so that they can take their baby home, and the baby can get nationality in that country. The baby can, go to school. The baby can get the identity card. So we are very, very careful when dealing with same-sex couples. Sometimes we have to be creative in the contract process as well as in the parentage order process. Typically, we want both parties to be listed as parents, but sometimes we have to establish their parentage later, just to protect them. Most of the world in the United States thinks everything is like the US, and it's not. So I recently worked with a couple. He's French, his partner is Chinese, and they live in China. And so we made sure that both parents are listed as parents and parents. They established, because they established it in their home country, estate planning documents. So that's what same-sex couples did years ago, because they couldn't get parentage in the United States, they couldn't get marriage, and now they can. So for the countries where they can't do that, they are doing what we did in the US, all the time, like 20 years ago. They're getting really good estate planning documents. That's guardian nomination documents. We do that in the US for them, but they also need that in their home country. It's like healthcare directives, a will, a trust. So it's really important that we know most of the laws in most of the countries, so it's really important that you work with the law office that does that, so that we know how to protect you if you're same sex. For our US clients or Canada, it's not such an issue, and some other Asian countries, but a lot of times it is. We're very careful. Correct. Not every place is the US. Even in the US, I have to say, I've done a lot of confirmatory adoption for my same-sex couples. Even my same-sex couples who have a judgment of parentage, they still want that extra layer of an adoption. They're same-sex, so they know that the world is not as open to them, and they really want to keep their family intact, and it's for the children, really and truly. That's what we do. So when we're dealing with somebody that's overseas, France used to be more difficult. Now it's slightly better, if we're working with China or, Thailand, we make sure if they can that they speak to an attorney in their home country. Some countries they cannot. So we actually talk to the parents, and then we also talk to other people, and we really do figure it out to make it so that child can go home. So the challenge for them, obviously, a lot of times it's language barriers, right? So that's why I have all my documents, or most of my documents, translated into 4 or 5 languages, just to help them, right? It really helps ease them. Also the time difference. It's great now because there's WeChat, there's WhatsApp, so they can communicate and it translates for them. But they're away from their surrogate, and the surrogate is away from the parents. So that's a huge challenge for them. Also, not being here for the birth, planning for the birth, things like that. Right now, passports are available, so we have to work on that for them. Getting home, if they're a U.S. based, they don't have to work on that. Travel documents for places like China, they have to do afterwards. So there's lots of issues that we work with them. But it's not insurmountable, it adds an extra layer for them. It's really key that they work with agencies, physicians, and attorneys that really understand the other countries and know them. So currently right now, we still have birthright citizenship. So when a baby is born in this country, the baby gets a passport, and we don't expect that to change anytime soon. So we're hoping that remains the same right now. We'll see, but for now, the baby does get a passport. So after the baby's born, you get the birth certificate, then you apply for the passport. You can get that within 24 to 48 hours. So that's wonderful. We have worked with other countries and talked to other attorneys to see if that could not happen, what would happen. So we actually have plans for, our Chinese clients and our French clients and our clients in the UK and Canadian clients. So we're definitely reaching out to all attorneys just in case that doesn't happen. But for right now, it's still good. I would say the common legal mistakes is not reading your contract. Or not working with an attorney that's experienced in this field. I've had clients who have come to me and said, well, I've got a friend who's in bankruptcy. Well, I wouldn't do your bankruptcy. You wouldn't want me to do your bankruptcy. I'm not a bankruptcy attorney. So I've seen some contracts that are really not robust enough for all the issues that are involved. So it's really important that you have a really good, solid contract. I know I keep saying that, but it's so true. Because at the end of the day, if you've done all that you can and your agency is, really worked hard to get you a good surrogate, it's a good match, your doctor has screened her, you've got a really good contract, there should be just little minor things that may happen, but it's so important that you have a really good team with you and a really good contract. I cannot stress that enough. Well, there really isn't gray areas in the law, but we're dealing with people and we're dealing with a federal administration that may change things regarding birthright citizenship. So I would say that might be the grayest area. So for us right now, that might be the struggle, but there really isn't in the law. Whether it's Michigan, Texas, Washington, Colorado, Nevada, there's so many states and most of them have really good laws. But the gray area for you is you're really not going to know how your surrogacy is going to end up until it's over. So that is something. And then also, I had my own surrogacy and, it wasn't perfect, but my children were born perfectly healthy. But, did she eat what I would eat? Probably not. Did she do things that, she was single? Did she do things like pick up her 2-year-old very close after the transfer and she's not supposed to? Probably, but did I know this? No. So there might be little things that go on and things like that she would do that you won't do, but you just have to keep sight of the fact that at the end, there's a baby. Do your research. I would say really do your research. There's so many agencies out there. So do your research. Pick agencies, pick attorneys that have experience, because experience matters. It's a very, very crowded field, so you really want to make sure that you work with the best team. I get some phone calls from people that have been working with, agencies and, some clinics that aren't at the top tier, and it's heartbreaking. They've lost, 3 years and thousands of dollars. And, that's why do your research, really. They should look for communication. You know, attorneys have a reputation that we never call people back or email back. You want a law office that communicates with you quickly. You want it to feel nearly seamless, right? You know, when I go to conferences, there was a conference I was at, there were 2 other attorneys there with, and I told a prospective client, I said, listen, all these attorneys are good. You can't go wrong with them, they have experience. So that's really what you want to do, but communication is key, especially when you're dealing with surrogacy and egg donation. You're waiting a long time to have that baby. It's not as complicated as you think it is. So I think people think attorney and they're like, it's going to be scary. We're here to help you. My whole office, we're very open, we're very friendly. So it's not as complicated as you think. I think the medical is more complicated than the legal. You know, I did my own surrogacy and I felt like it was so different than just straight IVF. But the legal process was the last step, and we are the last step before you get to try to have your baby. So it's really not as complicated. Yes, the contracts can seem long. Just take it in small little bits and step by step. But really and truly, it's not as awful as you think it is.
Surrogacy insurance is a critical layer of protection designed to ensure that both the gestational carrier and the intended parent are covered medically and financially throughout the surrogacy journey. It includes coverage for prenatal care, labor and delivery, postpartum recovery, and any complications that may arise. Without the right insurance, families can face unexpected and sometimes devastating bills. At Art Risk, we view surrogacy insurance as not just a policy, but a promise to safeguard the health, well-being, and peace of mind to everyone involved. Surrogates typically need several layers of coverage. Medical insurance that includes maternity care, short-term disability for bed rest covering lost wages and housekeeping, and child care. Life insurance in case of death, as well as loss of reproductive organ insurance. We also recommend insurance to cover the embryo transfer process with IVF complications, insurance as well as miscarriage, stillborn, and infant demise coverage. Each journey is unique, and we help ensure the right coverage is in place from the start. So that's an interesting question about what makes a good surrogate agency, because there certainly are a lot of good agencies out there. But I think what makes a good surrogate agency is an agency that really cares about the intended parent and cares about the surrogate. I also believe they screen their surrogates very well to make sure that they're going to have the safest journey possible. They make sure that they have all the right players in place, that they have a good IVF physician, they have good attorneys, that the surrogate's records have been reviewed, that she's had a background check and she's gone through psych, and that they stay with the surrogate and the intended parent all the way through the journey. Surrogate journeys are roller coaster rides. They have super highs and they have super lows. And it's really important that whoever is your agency, make sure that they are with you through the best of times and through the worst of times. We are very excited to be working with Yunda Surrogacy so far for a variety of reasons. The first being that Yunda is doing an excellent job recruiting surrogates, and Yunda is also screening them so that they are ready and able to be gestational carriers. Yunda is also working with wonderful partners. They partner with attorneys and with escrow companies and with recruiters so that they are getting the best of the best. Yunda also has developed an amazing website that is extremely transparent, so as an intended parent or a surrogate, you can get all the information that you need on your journey. So we're very impressed with Yunda, and we're excited to be partnering with them.
All right.
Okay.
Client said yes. All right, let's talk about.
Timing is everything in the world of surrogacy insurance, and it is also communication. That's why we make it a priority to connect with intended parents as soon as a match is made. Early conversations allow us to review available options, answer questions, and flag any timing-sensitive coverage needs well before the transfer. We also maintain open communication during the legal clearance, working closely with the legal team to ensure insurance language aligns with the contract and with the policies that are purchased and the coverage that is put in place. Some policies must be purchased prior to pregnancy or by a specific gestational week, while others allow for later enrollment but may come with a waiting period. Our goal is to make sure that nothing is missed, and we walk through alongside intended parents every step of the way, guiding them through each deadline, offering reminders, education, and remaining available throughout the journey. Insurance is more than just a checkbox. It's a foundation for a secure and supported experience for everyone involved. Our work has helped establish best practices, close dangerous coverage gaps, and bring clarity to a complex and often misunderstood space. We've educated the industry, advocated for reform, and built the infrastructure that now protects so many surrogate journeys. Today, surrogacy looks very different because it's safer, more transparent, and more compassionate because of the standards we've helped set. At Art Risk, every journey matters, and our legacy is not only the families we've helped build, but in the lasting impact we've made on how surrogacy is understood, supported, and safeguarded.
Hi, my name is Zoe Boy. I'm the client director at Yunda Surrogacy. As a nurse, I work at the fertility clinic for over 9 years and help over 1,000 patients. Our staff are professionally trained and fully experienced. We will guide you through every step in fertility clinic, insurance, and delivery. We will always by your side, even if you just want to chat.
My name is Sarah. I'm so happy to have had this journey with Yunda. Me and Michael are extremely happy with Emma, our daughter, and I hope that Yunda can help more people like you and me. Choosing Yunda turned out to be one of the best decisions we've ever made. They guided us through every legal, medical, and emotional step, and today we're holding our greatest gift, our daughter, Emma. Thank you.